I am a 34-year-old young mom of two. I am also an assistant catering manager at a prestigious boarding school, and as such, I work shifts. They are either early or late with a weekend on before I get a day off. So it's a 12-day cycle, but I digress. Anyway, in about November of 2019, I was working the morning shift, so I was up and out of the house by 5:45 a.m. I had to put some diesel in my car, so I made my way to the closest petrol station. I go there quite frequently, so I know the attendants pretty well. We have petrol attendants in my country, as you do not fill up your own cars, so as tired as we all were, we had a chat while we were waiting to fill the car. I am the only one there, and since it is summer, it is pretty light out at this point. Another car pulls up. This was a fairly new model. After their car was filled, I noticed the driver, a well-dressed, clean, middle-aged man, had gotten out and was rummaging under the passenger seat. He seemed agitated, and I was just minding my own business, but was obviously watching him, as, hello, I was alone and bored waiting for my car to fill. This stranger looked me dead in the eyes, and I swear to you, he looked vacant. Like he was there physically, of course, but his brain was not in the now. He then proceeds to stop scratching around for whatever he was looking for. I assumed at the time it was maybe his wallet, and jumps back into the driver's seat. Me, thinking he has done the decent human thing and is paid, notices that he starts reversing quite fast out of the petrol station, when I hear the attendant shouting at him that he hasn't paid. The man hoots his horn twice in an "oh shit, my bad, I am coming to rectify my mistake and sort this out" type of way, so the attendant is approaching his car to finish the transaction. Well, this POS then proceeds to try and run over the attendant, like as if wheels were skidding and smoke from the tires was the type of aggressive driving, and almost succeeded. He is smiling the whole time, and I am just in shock. Like, I'm not naive, and I know this stuff happens, but as cliche as it sounds, never in this small retirement town. The attendants and I are just stumped, like, what the heck, dude? We had a little chat about cameras and if everybody was okay, and basically the whole absurdity and strangeness of this encounter. Anywho, off to work I go. And I ponder about this incident for about a week until, of course, I travel about 90 kilometers a day to and from work. I need to fill my car again. I see the same attendant who is helping me today from the day of the incident. I started chatting with him, and the convo went something like this. Me: hey, do you remember the other day with that guy who drove off without paying? Yeah, that was hectic, right? I know, right? So, did they catch him? Were you guys able to track him down with the cameras? Oh yeah, they caught him in this one town. Didn't you hear? Hear what? He had just shot some people at his workplace. His business partner, I think, and was going out with a blaze of glory. He had shot 2 more people when the police had caught him. Me: I'm sorry, what? Yeah, and when they arrested him, he told the officers that he was trying to get his gun out to kill all of us, me and the 3 attendants, when he stole the petrol but couldn't find the bullets or gun. It was one or the other. This man, folks, had like a stupid amount of bullets and more guns in the back of his truck. He intended to kill us, all of us. He wouldn't have been reported to the police as early as he was if he succeeded. He planned to kill as many people as possible before getting caught. I still think about this all the time. I'm also thankful every day that this guy couldn't find his gun, and that by some miracle he decided to try and kill by car, then to open up the back and gun us all down. I'm also grateful that he didn't hurt any of the attendants. They were just doing their job. Hey, a long-time lurker. I figured I'd post about a weird experience I had when I was 17. I'm now 25. I'm a woman. Dress size 24 to 26. That will be kind of important later. I used to work at a popular plus-size women's wear store. It was my second job ever, and I worked there 3 times a week after school. I usually worked closing with my manager and 1 other woman. However, our manager would often leave around 6 p.m., and I would be there till about 8 p.m. with my coworker. I should mention here that I was the youngest of our team. Everybody else was in their 30s and 40s, and there was some internal mistreatment as a result. A lot of it was them speaking to me like a toddler and making snide remarks about my appearances. I had piercings and dyed hair, stretched ears, etc. I had 2 coworkers who I loved dearly. They were in their 30s and 60s. Fabulous people who were also alternative, but sadly the rest were competitive and mean-spirited. There was one particular coworker who I was closing with that night. She was very fend to herself. With almost all of the staff members. She was very proper and religious, so she hated me, and she took everything super literally. It was about 7:30 p.m. and we were just starting to do our closing tasks. I was putting clothes away, cleaning tables, etc., and my coworker was behind cash. A woman came in maybe mid-50s, skinny, lanky, short hair, skin damage level tan, colorless eyes. I'm talking pupils and nothing else. Looked like she lived in a fire pit. She didn't say much at first, but made a beeline for the lingerie, which is where I was cleaning. She looks over at me a couple of times and I get the feeling that she's trying to steal. I subtly let my coworker know by using our code word in a sentence, and she notes the same thing. The evening goes on, but now under a more watchful eye. I kept an eye on the woman for about 15 minutes during this time. She would shuffle between racks almost like a crab, side to side, back always facing me, mutter to herself, and her hands would jaggedly and sharply move towards different items. She almost looked animated. Her movements felt unnatural. Eventually, she turned around to face me. She has a pile of lingerie hanging over her arm. She smiles widely and says, "My wife and I had an argument and she won't let me back into our apartment until I get her a gift. I'm thinking something that will benefit us both, if you know what I'm saying." It's at this point she nudges me. I, a nervous teenager, nervously laugh and ask her if she knows her wife's size, pointing out that she has grabbed multiple differently sized items. She ponders for a moment and says, "Well, you've got more brains than me. I don't know her size actually, but come to think of it, she looks a bit like you." As she's saying this, she begins holding up lingerie against my body, sizing me up. This made me very uncomfortable for obvious reasons. Any person touching me against my consent is a big no for me already, but especially in a sexually objectified manner, regardless of who they are. I take a step back, turn to my coworker, and give her the help me eyes. It was at this point my coworker shrugged and turned the other way. I could swear she was giggling at the situation. I realized I was now alone in dealing with this woman. I gently offered the alternative option, a bathrobe. A pretty safe bet and more flexible if it's oversized or undersized. Plus, you can return a housecoat. You cannot, however, return a lace thong. The shopper practically jumps at the ideal, still giddy and animated, and I start to think she merely had a lapse of judgment before. Boy, was I wrong. She takes the robe from my hands and goes, "Oh, this is perfect." But I'm still hesitant about the size. Say, you guys offer try-ons, don't you? We did. We would sometimes model products for customers with limited mobility who wanted to see garments in action. I shook my head at this and explained that we can do that for business attire, but not for casual wear or lingerie. She sighs, shuffles around, and goes, "Well, you're about the same size as her. Let me hug you to be sure." Before I could react, she had her arms around me. I froze. Couldn't feel my arms or legs. I remember my heart racing as she patted my lower back. Something kicked in and I took a quick step back, but I couldn't see anything. I was shocked. She smiles and goes, "That wasn't so bad, huh, baby?" And I was right. You're exactly like my woman. Curvy in all the right places. You are sure you can't amuse me and try this on? Every word put me on edge. I began stepping back to the safety of the cash counter where my coworker was. It was at this time my coworker decided to go clean the fitting rooms. Once safely behind cash, I checked the time and said, No, I can't do that for you. Against store policy. Are you buying the robe or not? We close in 5 minutes." She seemed surprised at my change of tone. I'm in full flight or fight mode. My emotions are all over the place and I just want her gone. "Yeah, I'll take it," she said. Something like that. It's kind of blurry. She goes to pull out her wallet and surprise, surprise, no wallet in sight. She fumbles around to find cash for a good 5 minutes or so. During this time, she decides to go in extensive detail about her and her wife's sex life and how it got worse after they were married. Eventually, she finds a crumpled up $50 bill and buys the robe, confirming that it is returnable. As she's leaving, she says, "If she doesn't like this, I'll be back tonight. If you are not here, I'll come back every day until you are. I like you." I told her we were closed, and my coworker unlocked the door at this point and gestured for the customer to leave. She didn't have any parting words after that, but did blow a kiss at me on the way out. I winced at it, that's all I know. My coworker giggled when the woman left and said, "She sure did like you." I didn't say anything back, got my stuff and left. About 2 weeks later, I put in my 2 weeks notice following a similar incident involving a serial shitter using our changing rooms as a bathroom. He would also try on our women's lingerie. That's a whole nother story for a different time. Thankfully, the robe woman never showed up again while I was working, although at one point my manager told me a short-haired woman was looking for me during the early hours of the following day, and I'm certain it was her. So, I'm glad I'm safe now, but that definitely was one of the creepier encounters I've ever had. Thanks for reading or listening. Glad I could finally vent this story. February 22nd, 2022. It was a Tuesday, I believe. I had a person come into my job. I work in women's clothing and it was a customer that had helped on 3 occasions over the last 8 months. They said they were a man with he/him pronouns, but his girlfriend liked it when he dressed up in women's clothing. I didn't find anything wrong with this because I enjoy helping people feel good about themselves. I asked if this was consensual and he said yes. He enjoyed it too. On this particular day, he came in, this time with a wig and dress on, which again I found no issue with. In fact, I felt proud of him. He asked for the fitting room once nobody was in the store and asked for my opinion on something he was wearing. I agreed. He opened the room door and was standing there with a blouse on and no pants, but was wearing a pink and white polka dotted diaper. I was shaken and uncomfortable, but maintained my composure and said the top was cute and turned away. He tried on another outfit and was fully clothed this time and asked if we had anything shorter because his girlfriend likes it when he gets a pedicure and the lady doing his toes can see his diaper. I grew more and more uncomfortable, but being alone, I didn't say anything other than, "Oh, that's interesting." He asked if we had any long shirts that could be used as a dress, and I said yes and went to fetch them. I came back and one by one he came out in the tops with his diaper showing and even told me a story about him peeing himself at a sex store and his girlfriend changing his diaper in front of the employees, who were quote-unquote turned on by this. This discomfort grew and grew until I was shaking and texting my coworker to come in early. He came out of the fitting room in the dress he came in with and turned away and acted like he was on the phone. But I noticed it was his calculator instead. I stood there trying to calm down and everything when he came back and said his girlfriend gave him the task of taking a photo with me in his bra and diaper. I declined and said I wasn't okay with this. And he said that it was okay, but that he was going to get a spanking from her later. He left shortly after, thanking me for my help in not purchasing anything, which was a first. I brushed off the experience as a weird occurrence and went on about my day, thinking I wouldn't see him for a few more months again. I went home later that day and my coworker texted me saying he was back and doing the same to her, but he left again without making a purchase. The next day, I asked my coworker to come in early so I wasn't alone, and she did. He came in again and I went to the back because I was about to have a panic attack. I felt sexually harassed simply just by looking at him and picturing the look he had when he was staring at me in the diaper. I overheard him asking my coworker my name and when I would be working again. She didn't give him either and he left after making a purchase on a blouse he tried on the day before. My coworker told me he identifies as she, which threw me off since it contradicted what he told me the day before. At this point, I filed a police report with the police. I genuinely think this is a ploy to traffic me. An officer comes to talk to me and I tell him everything. The next day I was off work and I got a call from my coworker saying he drove by looking into the store, and when my coworker caught him staring, he drove away. I went to the station since I had to drop off my statement and informed them of what happened. The next day I opened the store and had to go by the bank. When I was driving to the bank, I noticed his truck outside an auto parts store. I called the investigator and told him about this and he got a tag number and noticed that he had a sticker for a local campsite that expired Monday. It's February. Who the heck is camping in February by a lake? All in all, I feel good knowing more about him than he knows about me. I know his name, where he works, and that he's got a campsite until Monday. I didn't see him yesterday or today, and I'm hoping he got the message that he scared the absolute heck out of me. I'll keep you updated as this goes on. Edit. For context, I'm a 25-year-old female, 5'2". The person discussed in this post is about 6'5" and probably over 350 pounds. Late 30s to mid 40s, I guess. Hopefully this will help shed some light on why I was worried to call this person out on their shit while I was alone. Thank you to everyone who's given advice thus far. I appreciate it more than you all know. Update. He came in today while I was working and the cops were called. He's been banned from the store and if he comes back he will be arrested. If anything else happens, I'll be sure to post it here. Thanks for reading and giving words of encouragement. I appreciate it more than you could ever understand. I'm proud to have stood my ground today for my store and my employees. Nobody should ever have to go to work and be in fear for the sake of customer service. Because screw any creep who utilizes customer service as a way to sexually harass people who just want to put food on the table. Again, I thank each of you so much. Hello, dear Reddit people. I don't know if this post is allowed in here, but I thought it might belong here. So, this is a story I haven't thought about for a long time until last week, but it was really creepy. It happened when I was about 22 or 23, and I was very happy with my then boyfriend, who was kind of creepy as well, but that's a whole other story. Back then, I was working during the weekends as a model and hostess for different brands to pay for tuition and the materials I'd used during the semester. So I was studying fashion design, and at school we had optional classes we could take. So I've always loved to sing, and I was taking that extra class. My singing teacher was amazing, and he convinced me to sing at the cultural week we had at school, so I did. I sang that day and had a good time with my classmates. A week after, I was taking my fashion illustration class. While we were drawing, an arts teacher opened up the door of our classroom, inquiring about another teacher. But we told him we hadn't seen him and we were with the fashion illustration teacher, Annie. He then said sorry and left the classroom. When the class ended and I was about to leave the building, he approached me, saying he waited for me because he wanted to congratulate me for my performance and wanted to formally introduce himself because he thought it was interesting to be able to talk to a young talented girl like me. I thanked him for his nice comments and then left. We will call him Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin was about 55 years old back then, and he started approaching me anytime he would see me around. And at first, I thought he was just being friendly, so I was also back. But over time, I started noticing he would give me weird looks, and he even started making weird comments. He knew I had a boyfriend and would still make weird comments that made me feel weird. One day, I got to class really early and my teacher wasn't there yet, so I sat down in the cafeteria to have a cup of tea and a bite before class while I read a book. Mr. Lin saw me and sat down in front of me. He started talking and then again making comments about my physical appearance and making me feel uncomfortable. He said to me, "Do you look at your boyfriend this way? I'm pretty sure you don't look at him the same way you're looking at me." I didn't know what he was talking about, and to be fair, his question made me feel really uneasy, so I told him exactly that. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just giving you a normal look, the same look I would give anybody." So he replied, "Yes, that look you're giving me as you take a sip of your tea, so I can only see your eyes, but your eyes speak louder than words." He then made a weird grunt sound. I was getting annoyed, so I said, I'm sorry, but I'm looking at you as we talk because these are basic respect signals to show I'm paying attention to what you are saying, but I think you are misreading things, and the way I look at my boyfriend is part of my private life that I shouldn't have to describe to you." A friend of mine saw me there and she waved at me. She saved me, so I waved back and told Mr. Lin, "I'm sorry, I have to go. My friend is waiting for me. We need to discuss a few things about our project. Goodbye." A few days had passed by, and of course after that conversation, I started trying to avoid him at all costs. If I saw him and went unnoticed, I'd go the other way and, well, just generally avoid being around the classrooms he used to teach at. About a week after, I was having lunch with a few friends at the cafeteria, discussing the details of the fashion show and talking about which models we wanted. The model fee was quite expensive. It was going to be a lingerie and swimwear fashion show after all, so the models charged a bit more than usual, so I came to an agreement with my dean and traded the fee in exchange for modeling some of my classmates' designs at the fashion show. We were excited about the details and the whole fashion show. But then, as we were talking and laughing and having a good time, Mr. Lin showed up and asked if he could join us. I looked at one of my friends as if I were begging her to say no, but they opened up a space for him and he sat with us. He was normal at first, but then he found out I was going to model at the show, and a few minutes after that, Mr. Lin started asking my friends the same weird questions he asked me that time at the cafeteria. Don't you girls think she looks at me in a very special way? There's no way she looks at her boyfriend like that, right? What do you think? They all got weirded out and eventually left me alone with him. They thought leaving me there was actually funny. How nice of them. When they left, the situation started getting more tense and uncomfortable. He kept on asking weird questions, and then he suddenly told me, "So, you didn't tell me you were modeling at the show. It doesn't surprise me since you're a very pretty talented girl. I'll definitely go see. Now that I know you're a model, that's great news for me. I'd love it if you would do it for me. I'd love to paint you." I was so uncomfortable, so I replied, "I'm sorry, but I only work as a model in certain very particular professional contexts, so I don't think I could be your model." He then told me, "It would be professional because it's professional painting, so it would be a professional environment, just you and me, you posing for me to paint you in a very professional setting." He gave me a really disgusting look and continued, "I'd love to see you pose in a daring way for me. Nude paintings are my favorite and my specialty. I want you to be my model." I got very nervous and I swear I started sweating because I was feeling all of his creepy vibes, and That look he gave me was really unsettling. So I replied, "Well, I'm sorry. I get you're a professional painter, but I don't want to do nude posing. I have nothing against people who do it because, thanks to them, I've improved my drawings and sketches, but I wouldn't do it myself. It's not my thing." There was an uncomfortable silence, and then he gave me a crazy look and put his hand over mine on the table. He said, "Are you scared? You have nothing to worry about with me. Nothing to be afraid of. If it's because you are scared, let me tell you something. You are a beautiful girl, and as beautiful as you are, and as much as I'd like to, I wouldn't do anything to you don't want me to. Though it's a shame I'm not capable of forcing you, because you really are beautiful." And he gave me the most disgusting look ever. I felt shivers down my spine and a need to run for my life as far away as possible. I yanked my hand out and said to him, "I'm sorry, Mr. Lin. I just don't do this. I don't mean to be rude, but the way you're insisting that I do it is making me feel worse, and I need to go to class. Goodbye." I stood up, and as I was stepping toward the exit, he pulled my arm and whispered in my ear, "I can't wait to see you at the fashion show. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Good luck, beautiful." I just nodded and left. As soon as I got back home, he sent me a message saying that he was sorry about making me feel weird. "But if you ever want to pose nude, I hope I'm first," he said. I sent him back a message saying I thought the way he was talking to me and my friends at the cafeteria was really inappropriate and made us all very uncomfortable, and I just wanted him to not approach me anymore, as we didn't have any business at college. He apologized and said he really appreciated my discretion about it, and he continued being still a bit weird, so I said goodbye and blocked him on Facebook. About 2 weeks after we had our fashion show, and guess who was there, staring at the models with a really creepy grin and disgusting facial expression? Yes, you guessed it, Mr. Lin. Thankfully, I told my boyfriend that week that I was scared of that teacher and that he might be there, so my boyfriend promised to pick me up and try to get there before the fashion show ended. But still, that didn't stop Mr. Lin from looking for me before the runway show started. A few friends told me he was looking for me, and I asked them to help me avoid him. Thankfully, he couldn't find me, and the few times I saw him around, I had the chance to either hide or pretend I was very busy with the models and my classmates, so he wouldn't feel confident enough to approach us. The creepy teacher, who basically admitted to me he fantasized about assaulting me and thought it was a shame he couldn't make that fantasy come true, because he wouldn't be capable of forcing himself on me. Please, let's never ever meet. This happened just today, and I'm still trying to make sense of what the heck happened. One of my best friend's weddings is next week, and I ordered a dress online. The bride asked me to wear a peach-colored dress because she wanted me in some of the wedding photos and wanted everybody to match. The dress came, and I asked my boyfriend to take a photo of me so I could send it to the bride to make sure it was the right color. We go out on our balcony for the photo so the natural light could show the color best, and he tells me that my dress is kind of sheer. You could almost see the color of my underwear. Great. I head out to the shop for either a slip or a new dress. So there I am in the underwear section looking for a slip that will work with my dress, and I notice an older man looking at some lingerie. Think like a 60-year-old Al Pacino looking man, but taller. Not that weird. Maybe he was buying something for his wife or girlfriend, or maybe he wanted to wear it himself. Doesn't matter to me, so I go on with my browsing. He kept looking over at me and we met eyes, so I gave him a standard closed mouth smile that everybody does. Apparently to him, that was an invitation to come over and talk to me. He introduces himself and asks what I'm shopping for. Odd, but I tell him I'm looking for a slip for my dress. Then he asked, "Well, how much do you weigh?" I thought possibly he was shopping for a woman and she was my size. Best case scenario that I could come up with. I replied with, "You should never ask a lady how much she weighs," in a joking sounding voice. I'm creeped out, so I say, "Nice meeting you," and try to go on my way. Then he loudly says again, "I asked you how much you weigh." Being shouted at by a stranger stunned me, so I stared at him for a second and then told him that I had to go. He then told me, "No, you stay right here. I'll be back." Naturally, I took off to a different part of the store, hoping that I wouldn't see this weirdo again. I should have just left. Not the case. He found me, holding an extremely skimpy piece of red lingerie. I start to walk over and he grabs my arm and holds the lingerie up to me and tells me that I would look beautiful in it. I straight yelled to him, "Back up." That attracted a lot of attention from other shoppers, and an employee came over to see what was wrong. I just said everything was fine, and then I proceeded to leave the store. I just wanted to go home at this point. I stopped at the smoothie shop across the street, since I told my boyfriend I would bring smoothies back home, and when I came out of the shop, guess who was leaning against my truck? You freaking weirdo. He was holding a gift bag now. "This is for you," he says. I told him to get off my truck, or I will call the cops. He then tells me that buying a gift for somebody isn't a reason to call the police, but I told him that harassment is. He calls me a bunch of names and then tells me that women like me are the reason nice guys are always rejected, and that he hopes I have a gun at home so I can protect myself. He opens up my backseat door and puts the bag in and leaves. I took a photo of the car he drove off in and called the non-emergency police line. Unfortunately, they didn't have much to go on. I was just worried that it would turn into a stalker situation. Maybe I'm just paranoid. What was in the bag, you ask? The red lingerie and a graphic note about what he would be thinking about me in it. Gross.